If you're worried about data and privacy and security in your environment, then today I'm going to show you a feature that you definitely do not want to enable. Microsoft recently made an announcement around the Windows Insider build 24H2, where they announced a new feature called Recall. Recall is a feature where they were able to basically take snapshots or screenshots of your system every few minutes to track what activity was happening in the operating system, and then save all that information to a database. Okay. But what's come to light recently is that database is not actually encrypted. All the snapshots aren't encrypted. So is this as bad as the people say it is? Let's dig in and find out and have a look at this feature, how to enable it, and then we'll do a deep dive in how to actually use it as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go through all the prerequisites with you, what you need to do to get it up and running. Okay, so first of all, let's look at the operating system. So if we need to have a Windows 24H2 Insider Edition, right? It needs to be minimum build 26100.712, all right? Anything earlier than that, it's not going to work. Anything later than that, it probably won't work either because Microsoft have actually pulled this feature and because of the security concerns that have been raised around it, okay? Secondly, we need to make sure that we're running ARM-based processor, okay? I've actually deployed a Azure VM and to get it up and running because, again, I don't have a physical ARM-based device. So I'll just show you what I've actually deployed. So in my Azure environment, I've got this VM running, and this is running on a D4PS V5 VM. Okay, so that's the SKU that I'm using, and actually deployed it using the Windows 11 Preview Edition, and then just installed a KB update, which you can see just down below. And that's how I got up to the latest build version 712 and to get all this stuff working. Let's get Amperage up and running. So Amperage is the utility that we're using that will enable us to use this feature. All right, so I've actually downloaded it from the GitHub repo. I'll put the link to that in the description. And then we've also downloaded these workloads components and put them in the workload components folder. Okay, so now we're basically going to go ahead and run this, right? So as you can see here, I've got a dedicated directory called Amperage. So I'm just going to do amperage.exe/install. Okay, and then that should go ahead and then enable that feature for us. So let's do that now. Okay, so all looking good. So basically it's installing all the extensions that it needs from the downloaded folder. So you can see here NPU generation 2. So we've fooled it into thinking we've got an NPU installed. Obviously we don't have an NPU installed. And that's a requirement that you would need for a Copilot PC, which obviously have those installed by default. Okay, so that's the install complete. So that's the restart my workstation, and then we'll come back and we'll start checking out the recall feature. Okay, so I'm now restarting my workstation. So let's have a quick look at this new feature, see how we enable it, and then do a bit of a deep dive to see what's actually happening in the background. All right, so I'm just going to do a search and just type in recall. Okay, so it's basically giving me the system settings for recall and snapshots. Okay, so you can see here by default it's turned off. So I'm just going to enable that feature. Okay, so it's now enabled. It's telling me how much storage is being used. I can view the system storage. So from here you can see the temporary files, all the other storage, all different types of settings. So nothing exciting there. So I'm just going to go back to the recall settings. Now, the most interesting thing for me is you can actually filter stuff out. Okay, and I know there's been a lot of talk on the internet at the moment about people saying, oh, this is the worst thing ever, it's capturing everything. You can control it. So you can say, I don't want you to capture data for certain applications. For example, if you're worried about it capturing any sort of credit card data that you're putting into a website, you can basically just exclude like Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, and then it won't capture any of that stuff, right? And I think this would be quite good for corporate environments as well, where you actually want to capture what data has been held, right? So anything that a user is using on a kind of corporate device, and they shouldn't be doing anything they shouldn't be doing, right? And obviously, you can have the possibility of getting passwords and stuff, but nothing much we can do about that. But I think the biggest concern which people raise is what if a hacker gets hold of this data? Because obviously, it's literally capturing everything which I do on the workstation. So if I open up a notepad document, so if I go to here, I'm just going to type in, this is my secure password, okay? That's been captured, right? And we'll take a look at it in a second to see how it's actually capturing that data, right? Now, I think in the future, what I hope Microsoft will do is they will actually make this data encrypted. Because at the moment, as we'll find out shortly, anyone can view that data. Okay. Anyone who logs on to the actual machine itself can get to that data. And that will include a hacker or somebody who doing something they shouldn't be doing. Right. So I think it would have been a bit better if Microsoft had, rather than kept this data locally, sent it somewhere via encrypted traffic or something. So it's stored in a secure location. So even if somebody does get onto the machine, they still can't get at that data, right? Because it's been stored somewhere else. So I know there's plans in place that Microsoft are actually going to change the way this kind of works, because at the moment it's a preview and it's all unencrypted. Nothing is encrypted. So in the future, they're going to be doing stuff around like Windows Hello, encryption, decryption of database, and that kind of thing. But for this video, I'll just show you what we can actually see now. Okay. All right. So we've enabled the feature. Okay. Apps to filter. Let's say you can filter websites, you can filter applications, all that kind of stuff. So this is all you can configure at the moment, right? So let's just close this down and we can see down here. So recall, no snapshots are being saved. Okay, interesting. So let's just open that up. So I'm just going to resume snapshots, right? So here we go. So Windows is now saving the snapshots, right? So my data should now be captured, right? And I can see here this little icon we've got down here, which is saying it's now capturing my data. So let's just put in a different password. Okay. And let's open up the browser and let's just browse to a website, google.co.uk, recall, security. Let's have a quick look and see. You'll be able to see Microsoft is reworking recall after security issues. Microsoft is going to switch recall off after data breach, backlash, all that kind of things. Yeah, that's caused a lot of interesting conversations within the industry. So now let's have a quick look and see what actually is being captured. So let's have a quick look and see what data is actually being captured. So I'm just going to open up the recall screen. So open up recall. So you can see here, it's basically capturing random screenshots, and then I can literally just pull that back to a different timeline and then just show what my screen was showing during that time window. So open Notepad, plus basically showing me what I've been opening and what I've been closing, for example. So I can just search for Notepad as well, and it should tell me what I've been doing in Notepad, but obviously you can do that for different websites, stuff like that as well. So I can click there, and it'll basically take me to what I did within Notepad. Okay. So the most worrying thing is, though, a lot of these data is actually held within a SQL database that's not encrypted or anything. Okay. So Microsoft will be changing that in the future, but for now, that database is not actually encrypted. So we can go to this directory here, which is the core AI platform directory. Go to UKP. Go into here, and then the database file is just this here. So I'm not going to show it on this video. There's loads of other people showing it, but you can actually open up that database and view all the data that's in there. But the most worrying thing is this. I can go into the image store, right? So I've renamed some of these to JPEG files just to show you, but these are basically the snapshots that it's been taken, and these are not encrypted, okay? So they're just held within the updated local directory, and I can just open up these, and then there you go. I can see what passwords are, see what people are typing in, all that kind of stuff. So not very secure at all. This is the reason why Microsoft have pulled it. Okay. I don't understand why they let it deploy like this in the first place. Yes, it's an insider build. Yes, it's in public preview, but the backlash that has been received from it is astronomical. I'm sure there'll be lessons learned. Obviously, that's why we do insider builds. That's why we do public previews to gauge people reactions and stuff. So Microsoft will learn from this. It's a good lesson to have. So I'm sure the end result, which will be a much more secure solution, right? That's why we do testing. That's why we gauge people's public reactions to it, all that kind of thing. So hopefully we're going to see a much improved version of Windows Recall when it eventually goes to production and the 24H2 builds. So I hope you found this video useful. Just want a few closing thoughts and conclusions. So do I think this is a good feature? Absolutely. I always think about stuff from a sort of corporate enterprise level mindset, and to have something like this in your corporate environment is useful for a number of different reasons. Obviously, security. Yes, it has its security downsides. The fact that if a hacker can get this data, you're in big trouble. But if we can get to a level where that's not possible, then it's actually a really good thing to protect the security, right? Because if we're running applications where we want to track what the users are doing, this is a tool which could enable us to do that. And I think it's also good from a support perspective as well. So as users ring into a help desk and say, I'm having this problem, and then we spend a lot of time trying to reproduce the issues. A tool like this, you could easily go on there and just say, hey, okay, I can see the exact steps that a user's doing, and then we can reproduce the issue. And the fact that you can include and exclude applications from it is a big bonus, in my opinion. I believe application developers will have the ability to actually capture that data or not as well. And obviously, you're going to have to opt in to get that data as well. So I think the security stuff will get ironed out. This is obviously the very first version of this feature. And I think it's a good thing that it's caused a bit of a storm around security, because that's going to make Microsoft really think about things and come back with a much more secure solution. Is everyone going to deploy it? Probably not. But for those companies who want that level of visibility within the environment to see what's happening, because in my opinion, at the end of the day, if I'm on a corporate owned device, I should be doing stuff that I should not be doing. So having someone watching what I'm doing, I'm perfectly okay with that. Obviously, the big issue is if that data gets into the wrong hands. So that's it from me. I hope you found this video useful, and I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye.